I've been a technology journalist for about 10 years. I started off covering high performance computing and grid computing, distributed computing, and I've transitioned into cloud computing, and now I write a lot about big data and data generally, big or not, big, small, and in between. GigaOm is a media company. The website is the flagship business. It gets about 5.5 million monthly unique visitors. We also have a research brand, GigaOm Research, and we put on events like Structured Data, the one we're at right now, and we do those throughout the world in a variety of topics. In terms of GigaOm's interest in big data, it's really a combination of things, including, the web has been one of the foundational aspects of GigaOm's coverage since day one, and the web was kind of responsible for the big data movement. The web, companies like Google generated so much data, they built entire products and platforms and companies around the idea of all this data that they were generating. And so now that that's moving from the web and into everyday businesses, it's a massive movement. Again, the Googles and the large web companies have certainly figured it out. The Googles and the LinkedIns and to some degree the Facebooks of the world, they have a lot of data. They know how to analyze it. They know how to make products based around it. Companies have been doing analytics and business intelligence for years, and to some degree, big data is just an extrapolation of that. Just several orders of magnitude out. But I think companies are coming around on it. They're thinking of new ways to use their data, new things, new questions to ask, new connections to make, and new ways to drive business. So. I think the biggest emerging trend I'm seeing right now is machine learning and the idea of taking this once, very mathematically focused and kind of black box sort of technology and really applying it at scale in a variety of different places. So you're seeing machine learning popping up, not just in large web companies or banks, but you're seeing it pop up in readers. I mean, like web content readers, right? And consumer applications and all sorts of places. So that's really coming into its own right now. And the other is just the idea of real time. Generally, Hadoop is a word and a technology that gets thrown around a lot in the big data space, but that's always been a very batch-oriented, very maybe once a day, once an hour sort of thing. And now we're talking about, what can I do on a minute by minute or second by second basis. So that's very important as well. It depends how you define small companies and large companies. Some large companies are very good at using big data if they're large companies that were based around the idea of data. So again, a Google, again, an Amazon, that type of company. On the other hand, some small companies, some startups especially, web startups, they grew up with big data, which is part of their DNA. So they build companies based around this, right? So to them, this is just second nature, and they're really rather adept at some of these things. On the other hand, the flip side of the coin is there are small companies that don't have the budget, that are maybe small traditional brick and mortar companies, let's say, or other companies that just don't have the budget and the knowledge to really to do this yet. So the tools need to come down to their level. And there are big companies that are they have too much bureaucracy and are too siloed by division and they have all this hierarchy in place and unnatural boundaries maybe. And so they have a bigger problem actually capitalizing on the data movement than companies that are designed around data. So. That's one of the holy grails, I would say, and there are certainly companies that are doing it and ways to do it. I think kind of the classic examples are maybe you're taking your corporate sales data, your cash register sales, right, or your e-commerce sales, and comparing that with, let's say, this is again a cliche example, but maybe you're an ice cream shop, right, and you're looking at your sales for the month of July, and you're correlating that against the weather data, right? You're correlating that against when a baseball game was in town, or things like that. These kind of data sets that are out there, and maybe you didn't see the connection before, maybe you couldn't access it, but now you have public data marts and APIs and all sorts of ways to get. I just saw a demonstration of a product where you were analyzing sales data for around and website visits versus the time that something was happening during the Super Bowl and Twitter activity. Like, there's a lot of ways you can mesh this data now to compare different variables. What I see from companies who seem to be doing it effectively is that they come at it from an application focus, an application-centric focus more so than just an infrastructure or an IT focus. So they think about what they want to solve, and they go from there. They don't say, let's say, well, I heard about Hadoop, or I heard about this new database, I need that, because it might be they don't need that, or it might be they still don't know how to do anything valuable with that, right? But when they come at it from, here's the problem I'm trying to solve, and then maybe you figure out what are the technology pieces I need, what's the organizational structure I need within my company, do I need more people who can do that, do I need more data scientists, do I need more business analysts, do I need more whatever. That's kind of I think you figure that out once you figure out what you're trying to do. I think machine learning is a theme that definitely popped out. We had a lot of sessions on it, and people seemed really interested in it, but it wasn't this idea of machine, but it was kind of taking that a step further. So it wasn't machine learning as a black box, it was how do we let humans in on the process? How can humans and machines work together? How can I, as a business user, maybe ask a question of a machine learning model, and maybe it learns from me, maybe it tells me I'm wrong, maybe whatever. Or how can humans better train these models, right, without being mathematicians or programmers or data scientists? Like how can they work together to kind of do this? I think that's a big theme. And another one I would say is the idea of kind of the Internet of Things and sensors and this data everywhere tracking our fitness devices and our mobile phones tracking everything, and there's a lot of, especially from the intelligence community, it appears there's a lot of interest in how we can track that and make sense of all that data to do some really interesting things. Well, so one company I just met that I think was doing something really interesting is called Pure Discovery. You might not have heard of it, but they have a concept called the brain space, and it's a way of kind of replacing search by scanning. I won't get too much into the details, but by scanning the content that's available on the web in various documents and letting people and the system itself surfaces related content to things that you seem to be interested in, and you can take, the idea is maybe you highlight a line of text in a web page, press a button, and more information on that topic comes to you. Or it's this whole idea of contextual search and finding you information. So it's not just typing a keyword anymore and hoping for results. It's you, if you like this topic, if you like this piece of content, here's more that's related, and kind of having a really interactive experience with personalizing that. So I think that's like the future of search is a big topic, I think, and they're kind of one of the people thinking about that. So big data on Hadoop the next 12 to 18 months. I think the next 12 to 18 months of Hadoop is just a matter of further building out the use cases that companies are going to use it for. Gartner has said it's in the big data and Hadoop are in the trough of disillusionment, and part of that is just like companies have built it or they've invested in it and now they don't know what to do, or it's harder to do stuff than they want. So making the use cases easier to identify and then making the technology easier to use, definitely a big deal. And part of that will be new types of databases that sit on top of Hadoop, or new types of processing frameworks that sit on top of it, just new ways to make it more applicable and then make it easier. Big data in general, I think, we'll keep, quote unquote big data, I should say, we'll just keep on gaining momentum, and that's not slowing down in any way, shape, or form. I think, again, as we start to see more sensors come on the market and more people interested in tracking, their health or their fitness levels or the temperature in their home, or whatever types of data you're generating now, I think that's like the next big movement for data, at least on 12 to 18 months, is the personalization of it, and this idea of having a connected sort of lifestyle that's all about data. So that's sometimes big data, sometimes not, but it's definitely, I think, where data is going. So thank you.